Look, I am going to be completely honest with you right from the start. My name is Vrek, and I am a Korthan. That means I have 4 arms, scales that could deflect most small-caliber projectiles, and a jaw that could crack a titanium bolt like a sunflower seed. I stand roughly 8 feet tall, and back on my homeworld, I was considered average. Just your typical run-of-the-mill tough guy. And I got my scales handed to me by a human who looked like she worked at a library. But I am getting ahead of myself here. Let me back up and explain how 3 supposedly intelligent beings, myself included, made the worst decision of our collective lives on a Tuesday night at the 7th Moon Trading Post. Yes, a Tuesday. Even the day of the week was boring. Nothing exciting ever happens on a Tuesday, right? Wrong. So incredibly, catastrophically wrong. The 7th Moon was one of those establishments that existed in the gray area between legitimate business and outright criminal enterprise. You know the type. Dim lighting that hid more than it revealed. Tables made from salvaged ship parts. A bartender who asked exactly 0 questions about why your clothes had suspicious stains. The kind of place where 4 different species could sit down, share drinks, and pretend they were not all running from something. I had been nursing a glass of Tarkelian whiskey, which tasted like battery acid mixed with regret, when my 2 companions arrived. First came Drolix, a Zentari with blue skin and more confidence than common sense. He had these ridges along his skull that he claimed made him look intimidating. Personally, I thought they made him look like someone had pressed their thumb into clay, but I never said that out loud. Drolix was my friend, after all. Sort of. We tolerated each other, which in our line of work counted as friendship. Right behind him strutted Kaxor, a pilgrim whose entire personality could be summed up as aggressively average. He was tan, had 2 arms like the humans, stood about 6.5 feet tall, and had this annoying habit of cracking his knuckles before doing anything important, or unimportant, or just existing. The point is, Kaxor cracked his knuckles constantly, and it drove me absolutely insane. Vrek. Drolix called out, his voice carrying across the bar like he was announcing a celebration. My friend. My brother in arms. My partner in profitable ventures. Translation, we had pulled off a cargo heist 3 weeks ago, and were still riding the high of not getting caught. I gestured to the empty seats at my table. Keep your voice down, you idiot. Half the people in here are probably wanted for something. Exactly. Drolix grinned, showing off his triple row of teeth. Which means nobody cares about us. We blend right in. We are part of the furniture. The invisible. Kaxor cracked his knuckles and slid into a chair. He has a point. Besides, who is going to start trouble here? Look around. Everyone is too busy drowning their problems to create new ones. Famous last words, as the humans say. I should have known better. I really should have. When the universe gives you a peaceful evening, it is usually because it is preparing to hit you with something much worse. Like a cosmic bait and switch, we ordered drinks. Drolix got something bright purple that smoked. Kaxor ordered water because he was boring. I stuck with my battery acid whiskey because I had already committed to bad decisions for the evening, and switching now seemed pointless. That is when she walked in. It was the human. Now, let me explain something about humans. They had joined the Galactic community about 70 cycles ago, which in cosmic terms was basically yesterday. Most species had been traveling the stars for thousands of cycles. Humans showed up late to the party, looked around, and decided they owned the place. The audacity was remarkable. But here is the thing that nobody tells you about humans until you experience it yourself. They do not look dangerous. At all. They are small compared to most species. They have soft skin that tears easily, no natural armor, no claws worth mentioning, no venom, no redundant organs. They are fragile little things that should have stayed on their gravity well of a planet. This particular human female stood maybe 5.5 feet tall. She had dark hair pulled back in what I later learned was called a ponytail. She wore simple clothes. A jacket, pants with pockets, boots that looked comfortable rather than threatening. She had this face that seemed kind, with these brown eyes that looked intelligent and calm. She looked like someone who would help you find a book, not someone who would put you in the hospital. Drolix noticed her immediately. Oh, look, a human. How cute. They let them travel alone now. Caxer snorted into his water. Probably lost. Hey, maybe we should help her find her way back to human space. You know, as a public service. I should have told them to shut up right then. I should have recognized the warning signs. But I did not. Instead, I watched as the human walked to the bar, completely ignored the stares from various species, and ordered something from the bartender. Her voice was clear, confident, and she used perfect Galactic standard without even a hint of an accent. The bartender, a Vulcan with 4 eyes and perpetual expression of exhaustion, nodded and started mixing her drink. 20 credits says I can make her cry, Drolix announced suddenly. I turned to look at him. What? The human. 20 credits. I bet I can make her cry and run out of here within 5 minutes. He was grinning again. That stupid, confident grin that should have warned me he was about to do something phenomenally idiotic. Caxer cracked his knuckles. I am in. But I bet I can do it in 3 minutes. This was not unusual behavior for us, unfortunately. We were not good people. We were thieves, smugglers, and general nuisances to civilized society. We picked fights for entertainment. We scammed travelers. We were, in the technical sense of the word, jerks. But we had never targeted a human before. Guys, I said slowly, trying to inject some reason into the conversation. Maybe we should leave her alone. Humans have that whole thing about escalation. Remember the stories? Stories. Drolix waved his hand dismissively. Propaganda. The humans want everyone to think they are scary, so they spread rumors. But look at her. Does she look scary to you? I looked. The human was now holding her drink, something amber-colored in a glass. She was scanning the room with those calm brown eyes, probably looking for a place to sit. No, she did not look scary. She looked downright harmless. Fine, I heard myself say, and I still regret those words. But when this goes wrong, I am saying I told you so. Drolix stood up, rolled his shoulders, and started walking toward the human. Caxer followed, cracking his knuckles one more time for good measure. I grabbed my whiskey and trailed behind them, already composing my apology speech in my head. The human had found a small table near the back. She was sitting alone, sipping her drink, and looking at a data pad. Probably reading something. News, maybe. Or a book. Humans loved their books. Drolix reached her table first and slammed his hand down on it. The sound echoed through the bar like a gunshot. Several conversations stopped. People turned to watch. Great! An audience. That would make the inevitable disaster even more memorable. Well, Drolix said, his voice dripping with false charm. What do we have here? A little human, all alone in a big, scary bar. Are you lost, small thing? The human looked up from her data pad. Her expression did not change. She just looked at Drolix with those calm brown eyes and took another sip of her drink. No, she said simply. I am exactly where I meant to be. Her voice was pleasant, polite even. But there was something underneath it. Something that made my scales itch. Caxer leaned in, trying to crowd her. This is not really a place for your kind. Lots of dangerous characters here. You could get hurt. The human set down her glass with a soft click. I appreciate your concern, but I can take care of myself. Can you now? Drolix laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Hear that, boys? The human can take care of herself. With what exactly? Your species does not even have proper claws. I wanted to interrupt. I wanted to tell Drolix to shut his mouth and walk away. But I did not. I just stood there like a coward, watching this train wreck happen in slow motion. The human smiled. It was a small smile, the kind that did not quite reach her eyes. You would be surprised what I am capable of. Prove it, Kaxar said, and he reached out to grab her data pad. That was his first mistake. His last mistake as a fully functional being, actually. The human's hand moved. I almost did not see it. One moment, Kaxar was reaching for her data pad. The next moment, his arm was bent at an angle that arms should not bend. There was a sharp crack, like a branch breaking. Kaxar's eyes went wide. His mouth opened. And then he screamed. It was not a dignified scream. It was high-pitched and desperate and filled with genuine shock that his body had betrayed him so completely. He stumbled backward, cradling his now very broken arm, and crashed into another table. The bar went silent. Drolix stared. I stared. Everyone stared. The human calmly picked up her data pad, checked it for damage, and set it back down on the table. I did warn you, she said pleasantly. Drolix's face went through several colors. Shock, confusion, and then anger. Pure, stupid anger. You broke his arm. Yes, the human agreed. I did. He should not have touched my things. Do you have any idea who we are? Drolix was building up steam now, his voice getting louder. We run this sector. We could have you arrested. We could have you disappeared. The human took another sip of her drink. Could you? That sounds difficult, especially since you are about to join your friend. I finally found my voice. Drolix, maybe we should just leave. He ignored me. Of course he did. Drolix never listened to anyone when his pride was on the line. Instead, he pulled out a blade. Not a particularly large blade, but it was sharp and illegal in most jurisdictions. He pointed it at the human. You think you are tough? Let me show you what tough really looks like. The human sighed. Actually sighed. Like this was all very tedious and she had somewhere else to be. I am going to give you one chance, she said quietly. Walk away. Take your friend to a medical facility. Go home. Rethink your life choices. Or what? Drolix sneered. Or I will put you in the clinic next to him. Drolix lunged. What happened next is difficult to explain. I have thought about it many times since that night, trying to understand the physics of it. The human moved like water. No, that is not quite right. Water is predictable. She moved like something that understood violence on a level most species could not even comprehend. She stepped to the side. Drolix's blade missed her by inches. Her hand came up and struck his wrist. The blade clattered to the floor. Her other hand, and I swear I am not making this up, grabbed the back of his head and slammed his face into the table. Once. It. Twice. 3 times. By the third impact, Drolix was not fighting back anymore. He was just sort of hanging there, making gurgling noises that sounded like a broken water pump. The human let him go. Drolix collapsed onto the floor next to the table, blood streaming from his very broken nose. Possibly his orbital bones too. Definitely some teeth. She looked at me. I froze. Those calm brown eyes locked onto mine, and I suddenly understood every story I had ever heard about humans. Every warning. Every piece of propaganda that I had dismissed as exaggeration. It was all true. Every single word. Humans were not just dangerous because they were creative or stubborn or good at making weapons. They were dangerous because they had climbed their way to the top of their planet's food chain despite being soft and weak and breakable. They had done it through sheer, bloody-minded determination and a willingness to be more violent than anything trying to kill them. And this particular human was looking at me like I was next. I said very carefully, am going to take my friends and leave now. The human nodded. That seems wise. I grabbed Drolix under his arms and started dragging him toward the door. Kaxar, still cradling his broken arm, stumbled after us. The entire bar watched in complete silence as we made our exit. No one helped. No one even moved. Outside, in the docking ring's artificial atmosphere, I propped Drolix against a wall and tried to assess the damage. His face looked like someone had used it to test a meat tenderizer. Kaxor's arm was swelling to twice its normal size and had turned an interesting shade of purple. "Clinic," I said. "Now." "That human," Kaxor gasped between waves of pain. "What was wrong with her?" "Nothing," I replied, flagging down a transport. "Absolutely nothing was wrong with her. That is the problem. That was just a regular human." Drolix made a noise that might have been a word but was mostly blood and regret. The transport arrived. An automated medical unit. I loaded my 2 idiot friends into it and gave it the address of the nearest clinic that would not ask too many questions. As it pulled away, I stood there in the docking ring, surrounded by the quiet hum of the station, and tried to process what had just happened. We had started a fight with a human. A human who was just sitting there, drinking, reading her datapad. A human who had clearly wanted nothing to do with us. And she had destroyed us in approximately 15 seconds. I pulled out my communicator and checked the local news feeds, searching for any information about humans and combat. What I found made my blood run cold. Humans had mandatory self-defense training. Most of them started learning it as children. Something about their planet being particularly hostile and their species needing to be prepared for anything. The human in that bar had probably been holding back. That thought sat in my head like a rock. She had been holding back, and she had still broken bones like they were made of sugar glass. I needed a drink. A strong one. Something stronger than Tarkelian whiskey. But going back into the 7th moon seemed like a bad idea. The human was probably still there, finishing her drink, reading her datapad, being completely and utterly reasonable. Instead, I started walking toward the clinic where my friends were headed. Someone needed to pay their medical bills. Someone needed to explain to the doctors what had happened without mentioning that we had started the fight. Someone needed to figure out how to live with the knowledge that humans were not the harmless newcomers everyone pretended they were. That someone was me. And as I walked through the station's corridors, passing aliens of every species and description, I could not help but notice the humans. They were everywhere. Working, traveling, living their lives, looking completely normal and non-threatening. But now I knew better. Now I knew what they were capable of. And I was absolutely terrified. The clinic was called Fast Healing, which was optimistic branding at best. It was located in one of the station's lower levels, wedged between a parts shop and something that claimed to sell authentic Earth cuisine but probably just served fried protein in various shapes. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and poor life choices. I found Drolix and Kaxor already being attended to. A pilgrim doctor, ironically enough the same species as Kaxor, was examining the broken arm with a scanner while making disapproving clicking sounds. "Spiral fracture," the doctor announced. "Clean break in 2 places. What did you do? Stick your arm in a cargo press." "Bar fight," Kaxor mumbled. The doctor's expression suggested he had heard that excuse before and found it tiresome. "Bar fight. Of course. And let me guess, the other person looks worse." Kaxor and I exchanged glances. "Actually," I said, "the other person is fine. Completely fine. Did not even spill her drink." The doctor paused. "Her?" "Human female," I clarified. "About 5.5 feet tall. Maybe weighed 60 kilograms if you included her boots." The doctor stared at me. Then at Kaxor's mangled arm. Then at Drolix, who was getting his face scanned by a medical drone in the next bay. Then back at me. "A human did this," the doctor said slowly. "Yes, a single human. Yes, to both of them. And she did it in about 15 seconds, I added helpfully. The doctor set down his scanner and removed his gloves. "I am going to need you to fill out an incident report. And I am going to need you to be honest about what happened because I need to code this properly for insurance purposes." We started a fight with a human who was minding her own business, I said flatly. She defended herself. We lost. Badly. The doctor nodded as if this confirmed something he had suspected. You know there is a support group for this, right? For what? What? Aliens who picked fights with humans and regretted it. Every Thursday in Conference Room 7. Free refreshments. Emotional support. The whole package. I blinked. That is a real thing? Started it myself 6 months ago. We have 20 regular members. Might be up to 21 after tonight. He glanced at Drolix. 22 if he can still count. This was absolutely not how I had expected my evening to go. So there I was, sitting in a plastic chair that was 3 sizes too small for my frame, filling out medical forms while my 2 friends got patched up by doctors who clearly thought we were idiots. And you know what? They were right. We were idiots. Premium grade, certified, absolutely first-class idiots. The form asked for my account of the incident. There was a little box with about 6 lines of space. I stared at it for a long time before writing, "We made poor choices." The receptionist, a Vaxian with orange skin and tired eyes, read it and handed it back. I am going to need more detail than that. Do you really, though? I asked. Is not the outcome detail enough? She pointed at Drolix, whose face now resembled a swollen purple fruit. Insurance requires documentation. Use the back of the form if you need more space. I sighed and started writing. The truth, all of it. How we had decided to harass a human for entertainment. How we had ignored every warning sign. How she had dismantled us like a mechanic taking apart a faulty engine. I did not make us look good because there was no way to make us look good. We had earned every broken bone and shattered tooth. When I finished, the receptionist read through it, her expression shifting from bored to interested to something that might have been horrified amusement. You grabbed her data pad? She asked. Caxor did, yes. And after she broke his arm, your friend pulled a knife? Drolix has never been good at reading situations. She stamped the form with more force than necessary. Well, this will definitely go in the clinic newsletter. We have a whole section dedicated to preventable injuries. This will be the cover story. Wonderful, I muttered. Glad we could contribute to medical education. Caxor emerged from the treatment bay wearing a cast that covered his entire forearm and looked like it had been printed from recycled ship parts. His face was pale, and he moved like every step hurt. 3 fractures, he announced. The doctor said I was lucky she did not tear the ligaments completely. Apparently humans have incredible grip strength relative to their size. Something about evolution and climbing trees. Trees, I repeated. Yes, trees. Their ancestors climbed trees to escape predators. So they developed hands that could grip and break things. Caxor sat down heavily in the chair next to me. We got beaten up by a species that evolved running away from things. Drolix joined us a few minutes later. His face was covered in synthetic skin patches, and he had lost 4 teeth. The doctor had given him painkillers that made him move in slow motion and stare at things for too long. I can see sounds, he announced dreamily. Great, I said. That is exactly what we need right now. The total bill came to 840 credits. I paid it, watching my account balance drop to uncomfortably low levels. Our profits from the cargo heist were supposed to last us another month. Now we would be eating cheap ration packs and avoiding expensive vices. We left the clinic and stood in the corridor outside, 3 beaten criminals trying to figure out what came next. We should report her. Drolix slurred through his drugged haze. To station security. Assault. Excessive force. I looked at him. Do you want to go on record admitting that you pulled a knife on someone who was sitting alone drinking? Oh, right. No. Also, Caxor added quietly. I checked the station regulations while the doctor was working on me. Humans are classified as a level 4 threat species. That means they are legally allowed to use significant force in self-defense situations. We would not just lose the case. We would probably face charges ourselves for initiating conflict with a registered dangerous species. Level 4? I stared at him. That is the same classification as Krellian war beasts. But yes, those things have acid spit and armored hides. I am aware. We stood there in silence, processing this information. Somewhere in the station, normal people were going about their business, trading goods, eating meals, having conversations that did not revolve around how badly they had misjudged an entire species. I am going back to the bar, I said suddenly. Both of them looked at me like I had announced plans to jump out an airlock. Why? Kaxar asked. Because I need to apologize. To the human? Yes. The human who broke my arm and turned Drolix's face into abstract art. That would be the one, yes. Drolix grabbed my arm with one of his uninjured hands. Vrek. Friend. Brother. Are you experiencing a mental break? Do we need to take you back to the clinic? I pulled free gently. Look, we started that fight. We were wrong. She defended herself. And now I feel like absolute garbage about the whole thing. So I am going to go apologize, and if she decides to break my arms too, then I probably deserve it. They exchanged glances. I am coming with you, Kaxar said. Me too, Drolix added. Someone needs to document this for the support group. We made our way back to the 7th Moon trading post. The walk took 20 minutes, and every step felt like walking toward my own execution. My scales were itching again. My hearts were beating faster than normal. I was genuinely afraid. But I was also determined. The bar looked the same as when we had left. Same dim lighting, same questionable stains on the floor, same bartender looking exhausted behind the counter. But the atmosphere had changed. People were whispering. Glancing at the back corner where the human had been sitting. She was still there, still sitting at that same small table, still drinking from that same glass of amber liquid, still reading her data pad like nothing had happened. Like she had not just hospitalized 2 people and terrified a 3rd. I walked over slowly, my friends trailing behind me like reluctant witnesses. She looked up as I approached, those calm brown eyes fixed on me, and I felt my courage waver. I wanted to apologize, I said before my nerve could fail completely. For what we did, for bothering you, for being threatening. For all of it, we were wrong, and you were well within your rights to defend yourself. I am sorry. The human studied me for a long moment. Then she gestured to the empty chairs at her table. Sit, she said. I sat. Kaxar and Drolix remained standing, probably ready to run if this went badly. The human took a sip of her drink. Do you know why I am on this station? I shook my head. I am a mediator. I help settle disputes between species, trade disagreements, cultural misunderstandings, that sort of thing. I have been doing this job for 6 years. She smiled slightly. And in those 6 years, I have had exactly this same interaction 17 times. 17? 17 times. Someone decides to test the human, see if we are really as soft as we look, see if the stories are exaggerated. And every single time I have to defend myself. Every single time someone ends up in medical care. And every single time. I sit here and wonder if your species will ever actually learn. She was not angry. That was what surprised me. She sounded tired, disappointed maybe, but not angry. Your species, I said carefully. Humans. You really do all have combat training? Most of us, yes. We grow up learning how to defend ourselves, how to assess threats, how to end confrontations quickly. She set down her glass. My specialty is Krav Maga, Israeli self-defense system. Very practical, very efficient. Designed to neutralize threats with minimal effort. You made it look easy. It was easy. Your friend telegraphed his movements. The one with the knife, I mean. I saw the attack coming 3 seconds before he moved, and the one who grabbed my data pad had no situational awareness at all. She looked at Kaxor. How is the arm? Broken in 3 places, he said quietly. I know. I broke it in 3 places deliberately. Less damage than if I had dislocated the shoulder. Easier to heal. You will have full functionality back in 6 weeks if you follow the treatment plan. The casual way she said this, like she had calculated the exact amount of damage to inflict, sent chills down my spine. And his face? I gestured at Drolix. Broken nose, orbital fracture, some dental work needed. Again, could have been much worse. I did not rupture his eyes or collapse his sinus cavity. He will heal. She paused. I am good at what I do, both the mediation and the violence. I prefer the mediation. Why did you not just leave? I asked. When we started bothering you. You could have walked away. I could have. But then you would have just found someone else to harass. Someone who might not be able to defend themselves. Someone who might get seriously hurt. She looked at each of us in turn. I stayed because I wanted to teach you a lesson. Clearly it worked, since you are here apologizing instead of planning revenge. Drolix, still foggy from the painkillers, raised his hand like he was in school. I have a question. Yes? Are all humans like you? The woman laughed. Actually laughed. It was a pleasant sound, warm and genuine. No, I am actually on the gentler end of the spectrum. Some humans are much, much scarier than me. I did not want to think about what much scarier looked like. My name is Vrek, I said, figuring proper introductions were long overdue. This is Kaxor and Drolix. We are smugglers, thieves, and apparently very bad at judging our opponents. Maya Torres, the human replied, mediator, occasional bartender, and part-time teacher at the station's self-defense academy. You teach self-defense? Every Tuesday and Thursday. Open to all species. I have students ranging from Vaxians to Krelth. Even had a Vulcan once, though he quit after 2 sessions. Said it was too much work. She finished her drink. You 3 are welcome to join if you want. It might help you avoid situations like tonight. You want to teach us how to fight? Kaxor sounded incredulous. I want to teach you how not to get into fights. There is a difference. Most combat training is about de-escalation, recognizing threats, avoiding confrontation. The actual fighting is the last resort. Maya stood up, gathering her data pad and jacket. But that is up to you. Classes are from 6 to 8 in the evening. Gym level, section 12. First session is free. She walked past us toward the door, then paused and looked back. Vrek. The fact that you came back to apologize says something about your character. Do not waste it. She nodded at the other 2. And you 2 should choose better friends. Or at least listen to the smart one when he suggests leaving. Then she was gone, walking out of the bar with the same calm confidence she had shown throughout the entire encounter. We sat there in stunned silence. Did she just, Drolix began slowly, compliment you while insulting us? I think so, yes. And offer to teach us self-defense? Also, yes. Kaxor cracked his knuckles with his good hand, winced, and stopped. Are we actually considering this? I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the life we were living. The constant looking over our shoulders. The fear of bigger, meaner criminals. The knowledge that eventually our luck would run out and we would pick the wrong fight with the wrong person. We had already picked that fight tonight. We had just gotten incredibly lucky that Maya Torres was a professional who believed in proportional response. Yes, I said. I think we should. Really? Drolix's swollen face somehow managed to look skeptical. Really? Look at us. We got destroyed by someone half our size who was not even trying. What happens when we run into someone who is trying? What happens when we make the wrong criminal angry or steal from the wrong ship? I stood up. I am tired of being afraid. I am tired of being stupid. If she is willing to teach us how not to be either of those things, I am going to take that chance." The bartender, who had been listening to this entire conversation while pretending to clean glasses, spoke up. "She comes in here twice a week, always orders the same drink, always minds her own business, and at least once a month someone tries what you tried. She has never seriously hurt anyone, always holds back, always gives people a chance to walk away." He set down the glass he was cleaning. "You should take her class. Most people do not get a second chance with Maya." Over the next few days, word spread through the station about what had happened. The story got embellished, of course. By the time it reached the outer docking rings, we had supposedly attacked Maya with plasma weapons, and she had defeated us using only a napkin and harsh language. I did not correct anyone. Let them think what they wanted. The truth was embarrassing enough. Thursday evening arrived. I stood outside the gym on level 12, staring at the door and trying to convince myself this was a good idea. Kaxer showed up a few minutes later, still wearing his cast. Then Drolix, whose face had gone from purple to a sickly yellow-green. "We are really doing this," Kaxer said, apparently. "I cannot believe we are taking fighting lessons from someone who put us in the hospital." "I can," I replied. "It makes perfect sense. Who better to learn from?" We walked in. The gym was larger than I expected. Padded floors, training equipment along the walls. About 15 other students already there, stretching and talking quietly. I recognized a few species. Pelgrim, Centauri, even a couple of Krelth, which was surprising given their natural advantages. Maya was at the front, wearing simple exercise clothes and looking completely relaxed. When she saw us, she smiled. "Glad you came. Find a spot and warm up. We start in 5 minutes." We found space at the back, feeling awkward and out of place. The other students gave us curious looks but did not say anything. Maya clapped her hands, and everyone fell silent. "All right. For those who are new, welcome. I am Maya. I teach practical self-defense with an emphasis on awareness and de-escalation. The goal is not to turn you into fighters. The goal is to keep you safe and help you avoid violence whenever possible." She walked along the front of the group. Rule 1. No egos. Leave them at the door. Rule 2. Respect your training partners. Rule 3. If I tell you to stop, you stop immediately. Everyone understand? We all nodded or made our species equivalent gesture of agreement. Good. We will start with basic awareness drills. Pay attention to your surroundings. Notice threats before they become problems. This is the most important skill I can teach you. The class lasted 2 hours. We learned about body language, about positioning, about how to recognize when someone was preparing to attack. Maya moved through the group, correcting stances, offering advice, and demonstrating techniques with a patience that seemed at odds with how efficiently she had dismantled us days earlier. When she got to me, she said, "You have good instincts, Vrek. You hesitated before your friends attacked. You knew it was a bad idea. Learn to trust that feeling." By the end of the session, I was exhausted but felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope, maybe. Or purpose. The sense that I could be something other than a third-rate criminal waiting for the universe to crush me. We kept coming back. Tuesday and Thursday, every week. Sometimes we were the only students. Sometimes the gym was full. Maya taught us all with the same calm professionalism. Slowly, things changed. We stopped taking the risky jobs and started being more careful, more aware. Drolix's face healed. Kaxor's arm regained full function. And we learned. 3 months after that disastrous night, I was walking through the station when I saw a group of Zentari hassling a Vaxian merchant. 4 against 1. The merchant looked terrified. Told me would have walked past, minded my own business, avoided trouble. Knew me stopped. "Hey," I called out, "leave him alone." The Zentari turned. The leader, a tall male with aggressive posturing, sneered. "This does not concern you, Korthan. Walk away. I recognized the signs Maya had taught us, the weight shift, the hand moving toward a weapon, the buddy flanking to my left. I am going to give you one chance, I said, echoing words I had heard before. Walk away. Find something else to do. Make better choices. Or what? What? I smiled. Or you will learn the same lesson I did. And trust me, you do not want that lesson. They looked at each other, looked at me, saw something in my stance, my confidence, my calm certainty that I could handle this situation. They walked away. The Vaxian merchant thanked me profusely. I waved it off and continued on my way, feeling something warm in my chest. That evening I went to the 7th moon. Maya was there, as usual, reading her data pad and drinking her amber liquid. I sat down across from her without asking. I stopped a fight today, I told her. She looked up and smiled. How did it feel? Good. Really good. Better than starting one ever did. That is growth. I am proud of you. She went back to her reading, then added, your friends are improving too. Drolix actually de-escalated a situation at the docks last week. Talked someone down instead of throwing punches. The old him would not have done that. You keep track of us? I keep track of all my students. It is part of the job. I sat there for a moment, watching her read. This human who had terrified me, who had broken my friends, who had then turned around and given us the tools to be better. Thank you, I said. She glanced up again. For what? For not killing us, for teaching us, but for giving us a second chance. I paused. For showing us that strength is not about who you can hurt. It is about who you can protect. Maya set down her data pad and looked at me with those calm brown eyes. You know what the real secret is, Vrek? The thing that makes humans actually dangerous? What? Name? We remember. Every wrong done to us, every lesson learned, every scar earned, we carry all of it, and we use it to make sure we never make the same mistake twice. She smiled slightly. You are doing the same thing now. You learned, you adapted, you became better. That is not just a human trait. That is intelligence. That is survival. I left the bar that night feeling lighter than I had in years. My friends were waiting outside. We had legitimate work lined up. A cargo delivery. Legal. Boring. Exactly what we needed. As we walked through the station together, I could not help but think about how one terrible decision had led to the best thing that ever happened to us. We tried to start a bar fight with a human. We ended up in a clinic. And then we ended up somewhere better. Somewhere we never expected to be. We ended up becoming people worth being. And it all started because Maya Torres did not spill her drink.